The best position to place your camera, honorable members, is to ensure that the camera is almost at the straight the Honorable Vice President.
Modise, we have 1 minute.
Thank you very much.
Recording in progress.
SG. Good morning, honorable members, and thank you very much for joining the platform. I would like to remind all the honorable members that are on the platform that the session today is going to be broadcast live on Parliament TV, which is found on DSTV channel 408. We are also live streaming it on various social media platforms, which is Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. I request all the honorable members that are participating on the platform to please bear that in mind, to know that all the time your cameras are on, you are going to be, there's a possibility that you'll be showing, you'll be viewed by people that are going to be watching the various channels. So please bear that in mind, and also ensure that there is no interference in the environment that we are sitting or joining us from, and ensure that the pictures that are coming out from your camera are pictures that will not cause any embarrassment to yourself or the SADC Parliamentary Forum or the parliament that you represent. We request honorable members to treat the session as if they are participating from their chambers. Those rules will be applicable here as well.
Good morning, Mr. Modise.
Good morning, Chandre. Is the honorable speaker joining us?
Do a sound check from here. We have a little bit of an issue with our connecting our sound system to our main camera. So just for IT to take note, when our delegates will be participating, that the sound will come from this microphone, but our camera is connected to a different account.
I can hear a little bit of a feedback there, Chandre. Are all the authentication members participating from the same room?
Yes, they're all participating from the same room. We'll try and sort out that feedback by making sure that we mute the other devices that are also connected during that time.
You might also need to reduce the volume on the speakers as well. That will assist.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are you not going to switch on the camera, Chandre? There you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Modise.
Thank you, Honorable Acting SG. Apologies.
Thank you. Good morning, honorable speakers and honorable members of Parliament. I wish to advise the Plenary Assembly that my office has been informed that the President of the SADC Parliamentary Forum, Honorable Mbosom Kodia Panga Christophe, Speaker of the National Assembly of the Democratic Republic of Congo, is unavailable to preside over the proceedings for the duration of the Plenary Assembly. Further, my office has also been informed that the Vice President of the Forum, Honorable Dr. Friarovana Lavanirina Celestine, Member of Parliament from Madagascar, is also unavailable. Honorable speakers and honorable members, in view of these developments, I wish to draw your attention, or the attention of the Plenary Assembly, to the provisions of Article 11.3 of the Constitution of the SADC Parliamentary Forum, which states as follows. The President, or in his or her absence, the Vice President, shall preside over the sittings of the Plenary Assembly, and in the absence of the President and the Vice President, the Plenary Assembly shall elect one of the representatives for that purpose. I further wish to invite the Plenary Assembly to note the definition of a representative as provided in Article 1 of the Constitution, as read together with Article 7 as follows. Article 1, representative means a member of a national parliament designated to the forum in terms of Article 7 of the Constitution. Article 7. Article 7.1. Membership to the SADC Parliamentary Forum shall be open to national parliaments whose countries are members of SADC. Article 7.2. The forum shall consist of presiding officers of the member parliaments and up to a maximum of 5 representatives designated by each national parliament. Provided that in designating the 5 representatives, each national parliament shall A, ensure equitable representation of women and political parties that are presented in its parliament, and B, include the chairperson of the National Women's Parliamentary Caucus. Pursuant to the above provisions of the Constitution of the Forum, I now invite nominations from the floor for a representative to preside over the proceedings of this plenary assembly. Honorable speakers, honorable members of parliament, any nominations?
I nominate you to be the presiding officer for this session, Mrs. Mungandi.
No.
Honorable Mulebwa from Zambia, you need to elect from among yourselves.
That's correct. That's correct. May I nominate?
Yes, Honorable Advocate Jacob Mudenda, Speaker of Zimbabwe.
May I nominate the host speaker of the plenary assembly, the Right Honorable Motinyane.
We have one nomination. Thank you, Speaker Mudenda. We have one nomination. Honorable speakers, honorable members of parliament. The nomination is for Honorable Sefiri Motanyane, who's the Speaker of the Parliament of Lesotho and the host speaker of the 50th Plenary Assembly. Any other nominations?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Honorable Speaker Kashavivi.
Yes, I would like to warmly second the nomination of the host speaker to guide us so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Do we have any other nominations? Honorable Mpaza from Eswatini. Honorable Mpaza, you have the floor.
Oh, hello.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I was actually saying I wanted to nominate Honorable Advocate Mutenda from Zimbabwe.
So we have a second nomination. Thank you. Any seconder to that one?
Acting Secretary General.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable.
I think out of decorum and etiquette, it is only proper that the host speaker of this plenary assembly should lead us in the, unless if the host speaker has declined the nomination.
Honorable Speaker Zimbabwe, are you declining your nomination?
I'm giving deference to the host speaker. Unless the host speaker has declined, then procedurally I can consider the nomination by Honorable Mpanza.
We have a hand from Honorable Anne-Marie Bilambangu.
Bilambangu qui veut parler. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for the floor. I would like to nominate that Honorable Mutenda must take the lead, and it should be seconded by the host parliament. Thank you. This is my suggestion.
Is there any? Is that a secondment? Sorry, that's Honorable Bilambangu. Are you seconding the nomination by Honorable Mpasa? I take it that is a secondment. Honorable.
Oui, je second
Yes, I'm seconding the President Mutenda, but he has to be assisted by the host country. He has to be assisted by the host country.
Thank you. May I be allowed to take a few minutes to confer with the host speaker to confirm whether he is available as advised by Honorable Speaker Mudenda. Thank you.
But it's okay with them again. DRC was fixated on the speaker of Delaware.
So right, Lapo. So right, Implanish.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Secretary General. It wouldn't be proper for the host speaker to be chairing the summit. We don't have to have everything in our hands. This is not a Lesotho affair, it is a SADC affair. So I accept to be the deputy chair to Honorable Mudenda. I wanted to call his first name, but it's difficult. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker Mutanyane. Honorable Speaker Mudenda.
Madam Deputy Speaker, Deputy Acting Secretary General, I said I am willing to assist Honorable Mudenda.
Thank you, sir. Any more nominations? Thank you. Mozambique, you have the floor. Honorable Carlos Moreira Vasco.
Ilustre Carlos Moreira Vasco.
A representação da Presidente da Assembleia da República de Moçambique.
Representation of the National Assembly of the Republic of Mozambique is also of the opinion that the nomination for the chairmanship of the proceedings be for Advocate Mudenda, the Speaker working together and so assisted as vice chairmanship by the Speaker of the National Assembly of Lesotho. So we support Advocate Mudenda, vice chaired by Lesotho. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I therefore declare that Honorable Speaker Advocate Jacob Francis Zwida Milimo Mudenda, duly elected to preside over the 50th Plenary Assembly in the absence of both the President and the Vice President. Deputized by Honorable Speaker Motanyane from the Kingdom of Lesotho. And so I declare, thank you. I wish to request the Plenary Assembly to allow just 5 minutes for us to confer with the acting president. Thank you. Meanwhile, may ICT please put an interlude.
All right. Thank you very much, Acting Secretary General. I accept the nomination to act as Deputy President. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Madam Deputy President, Secretary General, Acting Secretary General. Madam
My apologies, Honorable Speaker. My apologies, Honorable Speaker. I had stepped out to confer with the acting president.
It's okay now. Acting Secretary General, can we proceed?
Yes, Honorable Acting President, we may proceed.
Thank you very much. May I start by thanking the honorable speakers and honorable members and delegates attending this plenary assembly for giving me the opportunity to conduct the proceedings of today's event. According to the order paper, I am humbled by your choice in giving me this responsibility, and I shall work with the host speaker to ensure that the proceedings go smoothly while we wait for the president to join us. Honorable members, we are guided by today's order paper. We shall start with a moment of silent prayer or meditation. I will now allow for silent prayer or meditation for 1 minute. You may be seated where you are. Thank you very much. We shall now proceed. The second issue that I want to bring to the attention of this august House are the following. Announcements on using the Zoom platform, the etiquette, and documentation. Honorable members, I wish to announce the following guidelines and etiquette on the use of the Zoom platform during this session. Keeping microphones on mute. Unless given the floor to speak, members are requested to keep their microphones on mute. On the question of interpretation, the meeting will be in all the 3 official languages, namely English, French, and Portuguese. The Zoom application has an interpretation facility. From the menu bar at the bottom of your screen, kindly click on the interpretation icon and select your preferred language and click mute original audio. The raising of the hand. If members wish to take the floor during the debate, they are requested to make use of the raise hand facility, which can be accessed clicking on the participants menu. Communicating with the chair, please use the chat box to communicate with the chair. Now, our meeting etiquette. All members are required to be on video throughout the plenary assembly meetings for purposes of live streaming and live broadcasting. Secretariat and support staff will be required to keep their videos off and mute their audio. On the question of documentation, delegates are reminded that all documentation for the meetings are available in all 3 official languages and can be accessed on the portal provided by the Secretariat. Honorable speakers, honorable members, according to the orders of the day, I wish to inform the House that we shall start with the oath or affirmation of adherence in terms of Article 8 of the Constitution. Honorable members, I've received communication from the following parliaments submitting the names of the new members designated to the SADC Parliamentary Forum in line with Article 7 of the SADC PF Constitution. Accordingly, the new members shall take an oath or affirmation of adherence in line with Article 8, subsection 4 of SADC PF Constitution, which stipulates that, and I quote, every representative of the forum shall take an oath or affirmation of adherence to the forum in such form and manner as may be approved by the plenary assembly, unquote. I am therefore inviting the Secretary General to administer the oath of affirmation of adherence to the following new members who are attending the plenary assembly for the first time since their designation to SADC PF. Acting Secretary General Mungadi, you may proceed accordingly.
Thank you, Mr. President. The administration of the oath or affirmation of adherence will be conducted by country in alphabetical order. Accordingly, we will start with members from Eswatini. We have one member from Eswatini. May the honorable member from Eswatini please be upstanding and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, and then you say your name.
I'm Duduzi Matabula.
Take the oath or make the solemn affirmation.
Take the oath or make the solemn affirmation.
Before this August plenary assembly of the SADC Parliamentary Forum.
Before this August plenary assembly of the SADC Parliamentary Forum.
A, that I shall uphold the Constitution.
A, that I shall uphold the Constitution.
And the rules of procedure of the SADC Parliamentary Forum.
And the rules of procedure of the SADC Parliamentary Forum.
And demonstrate respect for the forum's institutional organs.
And demonstrate the respect for the forum's institutional organs.
And that I shall uphold.
And that I shall uphold.
To the best of my abilities.
To the best of my abilities.
The guiding principles and core values of the SADC Parliamentary Forum.
The guiding principles and core values of the SADC Parliamentary Forum.
Thank you. You may take your seat.
Thank you.
Honorable members from Malawi, may you raise your right hands and repeat after me. I, Malawi, I, you say your name.
I, Monica Shanganamuno.
Take the oath.
Just a point of guidance, Secretary General. All the members from Malawi should stand at the same time and pronounce their names accordingly. As directed by the Secretary General. You may proceed.
So each one of you says your name, and then where it says take the oath or make the solemn affirmation, you pick one of those as you prefer. I,
Monica Changanamuno.
Rachel Zulu.
Take the oath or make the solemn affirmation.
Take the oath.
Before this August plenary assembly of the SADC Parliamentary Forum.
Before this August plenary assembly of the SADC Parliamentary Forum.
That I shall uphold the Constitution.
That I shall uphold the Constitution.
And the rules of procedure of the SADC Parliamentary Forum.
and the rules of procedure of the SADC Parliamentary Forum,
and demonstrate respect for the forum's institutional organs.
and demonstrate respect for the forum's institutional organs,
And that I shall uphold to the best of my abilities the guiding principles and core values of the SADC Parliamentary Forum.
the guiding principles and core values of the SADC Parliamentary Forum.
Thank you. You may take your seats. Honorable members from Namibia, may you rise and raise your right hands. Thank you. I,
Agnes Hingana Kafula, take the oath
before this August Plenary Assembly of the SADC Parliamentary Forum,
before this August Plenary Assembly of the SADC Parliamentary Forum,
that I shall uphold the Constitution and the rules of procedure of the SADC Parliamentary Forum,
and the rules and procedures of the SADC Parliamentary Forum,
and demonstrate respect for the forum's institutional organs.
And demonstrate respect for the forum's institutional organs.
And that I
shall uphold
to the best of my abilities the guiding principles and core values of the SADC Parliamentary Forum.
The guiding principles and core values of the SADC Parliamentary Forum.
Thank you, Honorable. You may take your seat. Honorable members from South Africa, may you rise, raise your right hand and repeat after me.
I, Nosiviwe Mapisa Magula,
take the oath.
Take the oath.
Before this August Plenary Assembly of the SADC Parliamentary Forum.
Before this August Plenary Assembly of the SADC Parliamentary Forum.
That I shall uphold the Constitution.
That I shall uphold the Constitution.
And the rules of procedure of the SADC Parliamentary Forum.
And the rules of procedure of the SADC Parliamentary Forum.
And demonstrate respect for the forum's institutional organs.
And demonstrate respect for the forum's institutional organs.
And that I shall uphold to the best of my abilities.
And that I shall uphold to the best of my abilities
the guiding principles and core values of the SADC Parliamentary Forum.
The guiding principles and core values of the SADC Parliamentary Forum.
Thank you, Honorable. You may take your seat. Honorable members from Tanzania, may you rise, raise your right hand and repeat after me. Tanzania, may you raise your right hand. Tanzania. I have 5 names from Tanzania. Thank you. I take the oath. Thank you. Before this August Plenary Assembly.
Before this August Plenary Assembly.
Of the SADC Parliamentary Forum.
Of the SADC Parliamentary Forum.
that I shall uphold the Constitution
that I shall uphold the Constitution
and the rules of procedure of the SADC Parliamentary Forum,
and the rules of procedure of the SADC Parliamentary Forum,
and demonstrate respect for the forum's institutional organs,
and demonstrate respect for the forum institution organ,
and that I shall uphold to the best of my abilities
and I shall uphold to the best of my abilities
the guiding principles and core values of the SADC Parliamentary Forum.
the guiding principles and the core values of the SADC Parliamentary Forum.
Thank you, Tanzania. You may be seated. Honorable members from Zambia, may you kindly raise your right hand and repeat after me. You may wish to sit so that we can see your faces if you're unable to locate your cameras correctly. Honorable Mulebwa, Honorable Lumai. Thank you. Repeat after me. I, take the oath or make the
solemn affirmation
before this August plenary assembly of the SADC Parliamentary Forum.
Before this August plenary of the Parliamentary Forum,
that I shall uphold the Constitution
that I shall uphold the Constitution
and the rules of procedure of the SADC Parliamentary Forum,
and the rules of procedure of the SADC Parliamentary Forum,
and demonstrate respect for the forum's institutional organs,
and demonstrate respect for the forum's institutional organs,
and that I shall uphold to the best of my abilities
and that I shall uphold to the best of my abilities
the guiding principles and core values of the SADC Parliamentary Forum,
and the guiding principles and core values of the SADC Parliamentary Forum.
Thank you, Zambia. You may take your seat.
Was it nice?
Yeah, it was.
May also wish to mute.
Thank you very much, Acting Secretary General, for conducting the taking in of oath or the affirmation commitment. I would now like to introduce the observers to this, our session. I wish to welcome the following observers who are attending the 50th Plenary Assembly virtual session. Number one, Ms. Rosem H. Sadi, Executive Director of SAFEDS. Second, Mr. Valentina Tasopa, Director, UNHCR Regional Bureau for Southern Africa. Dr. Bernard Yanangavamgi, Regional Director, UNFPA Eastern Southern Africa Regional Office. Mr. Stanley Nyamanindi, Chief Executive Officer, SADC Lawyers Association. Dr. Adane Gebrem Mseki, Project Executive Manager, Peace, Security, and Governance, GIZ Corporation for the Enhancement of SADC Regional Economic Integration. Ms. Grace Kubuja, African Population and Health Research Center, Mr. Munetsi Mudaku Famba, Executive Director, Southern African Research and Documentation Center, SARDC, Ms. Julie Middleton, Consortium Project Manager, Action Aid International, Mr. Deng Soderlin, Counselor and Head of Regional HIV AIDS Team, Embassy of Sweden, Mr. Hermenegildo Moldovo, Executive Director, Institutional Para Democracia Multipartidaria, IMD, Ms. Abigail Noko, Regional Representative, OHCHR, Regional Office for Southern Africa. Mr. James Pimundo, Country Director, Plan International, Zambia. And Jacqueline Zambila, Embassy of Ireland. We also have observers invited by the host parliament, who include members of parliament, members of the diplomatic corps, and civil society organizations. Honorable speakers, honorable members, I have also have the following announcements. I wish to welcome Honorable Speaker Nosiviwe Nolutando Mapisa Ngakula of South Africa, who is attending the Plenary Assembly for the first time since she was appointed Speaker of the National Assembly on the 19th August 2021. Welcome, Right Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly of South Africa. Further, I wish to welcome Right Honorable Speaker Nelly Muti of Zambia, who is attending the Plenary Assembly for the first time since she was appointed Speaker of the National Assembly of Zambia on 3rd September 2021. Welcome, Right Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly of Zambia. We have received apologies from the following parliaments. In fact, it is only one apology. It is from Angola. Honorable delegates, in order to optimize on time and allow more members time to debate, the speaking time for members have been varied to 4 minutes in terms of rule of procedure 33 subsection 3. Members are reminded that for purposes of accurate verbatim recording, they should always say out their name and country whenever given the floor to speak. Are there any notices of motion? Are there any notices of motion? Are there any notices of motion?
Sorry, permission.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Mr. President, there's a hand from Malawi and Lesotho.
Malawi. Malawi.
Yeah, yes, there's a notice of motion from Malawi.
Please proceed. Please proceed accordingly. Malawi. What is your notice of motion?
Just a little bit of time, Speaker. It's for tomorrow. Yes. I should say. Speaker, tomorrow I'll move the motion regarding the same, so it's for tomorrow. The motion is for tomorrow.
Yeah, proceed. Are you ready?
Not really.
Can I give you time so that you can move to the next country?
Yes, Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. I recognize Lesotho.
Thank you. Thank you, President. My name is Pete Elisawana Pete. I'm from Lesotho. I rise to give notice that on Sunday, the 12th December 2021, I shall move that the 50th Plenary Assembly do adopt the report on the Standing Committee on Gender Equality, Women Advancement, and Youth Development. I thank you.
Thank you very much. I recognize Zimbabwe.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, sir. My name is Anel Ndebele from Zimbabwe. I give notice that today, Saturday, the 11th of December, 2021, I shall move that the 50th Plenary Assembly do adopt the report of the Standing Committee on Trade, Industry, Finance, and Investment.
Thank you very much. I recognize Mozambique. Lesotho, unless you are doing second, please put down your hand. Mozambique.
Muito obrigada, senhor Presidente.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wish to give notice that on this date, on Sunday, I will submit a motion for the Plenary Assembly to adopt the report on governance and human rights. Thank you. She meant for Sunday.
Recognize DRC. There's a hand up from DRC. Is it the president speaking? Is it our president speaking? We are asking for motions. We are asking for motions.
Chers collègues, bonjour.
Dear colleagues, good day. First of all, I'd like to tender apology. Of late, we were dealing with our budget, and I was responsible for the budget. So, since I'm presiding several meetings at the same time, there's a background noise. So I'd like to accept to assume the chairpersonship of our session. I beg President Mudenda, I can't hear anything now. Is there a sound problem?
Yes.
I'll be waiting for the gentleman to resume his. Okay, so once again, I thank President Mudenda. I'm going to ask him to carry on presiding over our meeting. I'll be with you tomorrow, Sunday. I'll have to take leave of you to chair the plenary of today's session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. President. We recognize that a budget is a very important agenda item in the national events of any country. And obviously, you are required to chair the proceedings in connection with debate on the national budget. I'm sure all colleagues here present do understand and accept your apology, and I will, through your graciousness, continue to chair, and I hope the officials from your country and parliament will be able to follow the proceedings so that by the end of the day, you are briefed accordingly, Your Excellency. Thank you.
Merci, mon frère. Merci, monsieur.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. May we proceed now with the motions?
Yes, Honorable Speaker. Malawi.
Which country? Yes, Malawi is ready now.
Yes, Honorable Speaker, we are asked to give the notice that on Sunday, the 12th December 2021, I shall move that the 50th Plenary Assembly do adopt the report of the Standing Committee on Human and Social Development and Special Programs. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you very much. I recognize South Africa.
Chair, thank you very much. It gives me great pleasure to introduce a motion for the adoption of the report of the Executive Committee on Finance this afternoon, that the report of the Executive Committee on Financial Matters will be adopted by the 50th Plenary Assembly. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. South Africa, our treasurer. I recognize DRC, I think, for the motion now. DRC.
Merci. Thank you. The motion is in connection with the adoption of the report of the Standing Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources.
Thank you very much, DRC. I see a hand from Zimbabwe. Is that a new motion? Zimbabwe?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. Please proceed, Honorable Ndiweni.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Doubt Ndiweni. I wish to give a notice that today, the 11th of December 2021, I shall move a motion that this 50th Plenary Assembly do adopt the report of the Executive Committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I recognize is it Mozambique? Mozambique?
Bon dia. Good morning.
Good morning, my sister.
Good morning. Good morning, Your Excellency. Dr. Budenda, President of our session. Good morning to our colleagues, speakers of parliaments of this forum. I would like, in terms of Article 45, to submit a declaration of vote of thanks to the forum. And this declaration may be submitted today at the time deemed convenient. Thank you very much, Excellency.
Thank you very much, Mozambique. I recognize DRC again. DRC. I see the hand from DRC.
Oui, merci pour la parole.
Yeah, thank you for giving the floor. The DRC would like to propose the report on GBV and the activities of the regional caucus of women, she meant.
Thank you very much. I think I have exhausted all those who wanted to indicate their motions.
Honorable President.
Yes, Secretary General.
DRC Honorable Mbilambangu has another motion that she wishes to move. Notice of motion.
DRC. Yes, please proceed. DRC, second motion.
Deuxième.
I think we have a technical issue here. DRC.
Oui, je demande s'il y a moyen de nous donner quelques minutes pour...
Could you allow us a few minutes for us to propose a motion on the model laws? Could we have a few more minutes to ponder this matter?
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We now go to the commencement of, I see your hand, DRC. DRC, what's your motion? Proceed with your motion, please.
Je soulève une motion.
I'd like to raise a motion in connection with the monitoring of the model laws of the SADC, grounded on the empirical matters referred to during the plenary assembly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, DRC.
Honorable President, if I may.
Yes, please, Acting Secretary General.
There's a notice of motion that is to be moved by DRC regarding the model law on gender-based violence. Honorable Mbilambangu.
Can the honorable member proceed? DRC. Honorable Mbilambangu. Honorable Mbilambangu. Honorable Mbilambangu.
Monsieur le Président.
Yes.
Mr. the President. Mr. the President, I would like to request to this plenary assembly to adopt the model law of SADC, relative, which is the model law based on gender-based violence, which has been submitted on 21 of October 2021. This model law has attracted a lot of interest to the world.
Mr. President.
Order. Honorable Mbilambangu, you just give notice of the motion without going into debate. Are we together? Honorable Mbilambangu, are we together?
Okay.
Just give the notice of motion.
Okay.
Okay, understand.
Thank you very much. Honorable Acting Secretary General, did you want to say something?
Honorable President, I was going to bring your attention to the same matter that you just raised regarding debate.
Thank you. As we commence our business of the day, I had a short request from the Honorable Speaker from the National Assembly of South Africa, briefly to accept an induction into the SADC family. May I proceed to call upon South Africa?
Thank you, Honorable. Thank you very much, Honorable Member, Honorable Speaker, Advocate Mudenda. Let me take this opportunity to extend my vote of thanks to the Parliament of the Republic of South Africa for entrusting me to represent the institution in this important SADC Parliamentary Forum. In joining all the speakers of the SADC National Assemblies who have committed their energies to improve and strengthen the capacity of the parliaments in the region, this is a responsibility that I am taking seriously and determined to carry to the best of my ability. I wish to remind the SADC PF meeting of the previous consultation with the SADC region heads of state that took place in 2018, including our President, His Excellency, MC Ramaphosa, regarding the goal to transform the SADC PF into a formidable vehicle for all the parliaments of our region. That assignment, Honorable Speaker, is yet to be realized through expediting the necessary protocols. This means that the drafting of the protocol establishing the regional parliament must be actively led by the chairperson of the SADC PF. This transformation, in my view, Honorable Speaker, will set the region to the highest trajectory in realizing our first regional parliament. The history of our region has been that of unity, cooperation, movement of our citizens, and this process has, however, been led by the executive of the region. It will therefore be important that the regional parliament, as a representative of ordinary people, take its oversight role in ensuring the success of all these endeavors. In conclusion, Chairperson, Honorable Speaker, a strong SADC PF would no doubt have impetus to better our participation at the Pan-African Parliament and other intercontinental or international parliamentary fora. The SADC PF must continue to ensure that there are meaningful discussions that are aimed at ensuring that our parliaments are equipped to better serve our communities in the region and to promote the principles of human rights, democracy, economic development, and peace and stability in our region. I thank you, Honorable Speaker Mogale.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker Mankula, for your acceptance speech. Welcome to the family, and I hope South Africa will be one of those parliaments that will assist in coming up as speedily as possible with a new protocol that will transform SADC PF into a regional parliament. Thank you very much. The first order, SJ shall read the first order of the day.
Statement by the leader of delegation for the Parliament of Zambia, Honorable Speaker Nelly B.K. Muti, in honor of the memory of the first and founding president of the Republic of Zambia, Dr. Kenneth David Kaunda, pursuant to Rule 45 of the Rules of Procedure.
Thank you. Honorable members, I am now inviting the leader of delegation of the Parliament of Zambia, the Honorable Speaker Nelly B.K. Muti, in honor of the memory of the first and founding president of the Republic of Zambia, Dr. Kenneth David Kaunda, pursuant to Rule 45 of the Rules of Procedure. May I now ask the Honorable Speaker to take the floor.
Thank you. The Right Honorable Advocate Jacob Francis Modenda, MP, 50th Plenary Session President, the Host Speaker, Right Honorable Sepire Matanyare, MP, the Honorable Speakers present, the Chairperson of the SADC Regional Women's Parliamentary Caucus, members of parliament from SADC national parliaments, the Secretary General of SADC Parliamentary Forum, representatives of various regional and international organizations, staff of the forum and national parliaments, and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, and indeed on my own behalf, I wish to express my profound gratitude for the warm recognition we have received from the SADC PF family in welcoming us as the new delegation from the Parliament of Zambia. It is gratifying to note that we are becoming members at this auspicious occasion in the
SG Mungandi, can you sort out the technical issue?
Thank you.
Honorable members, just be patient. We've lost Zambia technically.
Mr. President, I'm back on. We had lost power. Can I be heard now?
Yes, you are here. Please proceed.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Apologies for that break. It is gratifying to note that we are becoming members at this auspicious occasion in the history of the institution when we are celebrating the Golden Jubilee of the Plenary Assembly session, and most importantly, the decision of the SADC Summit of Heads of State and Government to transform the SADC Parliamentary Forum into a SADC regional parliament. In view of the summit decision, which was made in August 2021 in Lilongwe, Malawi, I would like to reaffirm Zambia's commitment and support to the work of the forum and indeed to the regional integration agenda which binds us together. Honorable President, it is well known that Zambia has always rendered itself to matters that pertain to social, economic, and cultural development, and it agreements and industry. The promotion of human rights, this unwavering commitment to this was an ideal that our first president, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, held very dearly to his heart. And it is for that reason that I now want to present this statement to honor the memory of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda and recognize his immense contribution to the liberation struggle of African continent in general and the SADC region in particular. This August Plenary Assembly is aware that on the 17th of June 2021, Zambia, the SADC region, and indeed the entire African continent sadly lost its elder statesman, freedom fighter, Pan-Africanist, and Zambia's founding president, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, who died at the age of 97 years old. Dr. Kaunda, who was fondly known as KK, was born on 28 April 1924 from parents who were both teachers. It is therefore not a surprise that after he received his education, he too pursued a career in teaching and began to teach first in colonial Zambia and later in Tanganyika, now Tanzania. KK joined active politics in the 1950s as a member of the African National Congress, ANC. He was later elected to the position of Secretary General and was in charge of mobilizing fellow Black Zambians against the inequalities of the time perpetuated by the colonial government. Between 1950 and 1960, he stamped his authority on the political scene as a fearless leader who aggressively opposed British colonial rule through systematic civil disobedience tactics that earned him some intermittent time in prison, the longest being a 9-month sentence. After being released from prison, his resolve to fight for independence was heightened. This led to the British government in 1960 announcing that formal decolonization of Zambia would commence. However, only in 1964 was independence finally achieved on 24th October 1964. After becoming president, Dr. Zambia was incomplete if its neighboring countries were still under the control of colonial powers. He was therefore relentless in fighting for the independence of other SADC sister countries like Angola, Mozambique, Botswana, Zambia, Botswana, Namibia, and Zimbabwe. His resolve to fight colonial rule in the SADC region earned him trusted friends such as Oliver Tambo of South Africa, Julius Nyerere of Tanzania, Augustino Neto of Angola, Samora Machel of Mozambique, Joshua Nkomo of Zimbabwe, Sam Mujoma of Namibia, and Therese Kama of Botswana. Dr. Kaunda vehemently opposed the brutal apartheid regime of South Africa and Southwest Africa, now Namibia, as well as the Ian Smith regime in Zimbabwe. He engaged several world leaders in an effort to draw attention to the evils perpetuated against Black people in South Africa, Namibia, and Zimbabwe. To this end, his government imposed economic sanctions on Southern Rhodesia in the 1970s and allowed Zambia to be used as a base by Black nationalist leaders to strategize and fight against colonial rule and apartheid. Indeed, this was done at great economic and security risk, but there was nothing to stop KK in his resolve for freedom for all. It is gratifying, therefore, to note that President Kaunda did not rest until the SADC countries had attained independence, with the last being Namibia in March 1990. Dr. Kaunda was also instrumental in the formation of a regional economic community to foster economic and social development that was not dependent on apartheid South Africa. In this regard, the first such grouping was a loose alliance of 9 Southern African states, which formed the Southern African Development Coordinating Conference in 1980 in Lusaka, Zambia, following the adoption of the Lusaka Declaration. This arrangement was, of course, later cemented into the Southern African Development Community, which is today headquartered in Gaborone, Botswana. Honorable President, fellow colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, in 1990, following the immense domestic and international political pressure for Zambia to return to multi-party politics, President Kaunda instigated constitutional amendment process, which culminated into reverting to multi-party politics. He cut short his tenure of office and called for early elections. He was defeated at the presidential poll and graciously handed over power to Dr. Frederick Chiluba of the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy, MMD. This feat was generally unprecedented on the African continent, where regime change happened smoothly and peacefully. This gesture by KK has now become entrenched in the Zambian politics and has been repeated twice since then. In 2011, Zambia witnessed a smooth transition from President Rupia Banda of the MMD to President Michael Sata of the Patriotic Front, PF. In the last general election of August 2021, again, we witnessed another smooth transition from President Edgar Lungu of the PF to the current president, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema of the United Party for National Development, UPND. As Zambians, we do not take the contribution of Kenneth Kaunda to our democracy lightly. Yet we are so proud, and due to the selflessness of this departed son of the soil, our country and indeed our region has continued to enjoy relative peace. Kenneth Kaunda may be gone, but his legacy lives on. As current leaders in the SADC region, we are implored to emulate him. His love and respect for human dignity should encourage us to put others first before self. As we embark on the transition of the forum into a SADC regional parliament, let's epitomize this spirit of selfless leadership for the greater good of citizens of our region. We will continue to honor the memory of Dr. Kaunda and to celebrate his life as the embodiment of servant leadership and love for humanity. I'll end by referring to one of his often quoted lines from the scriptures: love your neighbor as yourself, and do unto others as you have them do unto you. May his soul rest in peace. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker of the National Assembly of Zambia, for that touching eulogy. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the befitting eulogy on behalf of all of us, to the man whose selflessness is the reason why a number of SADC member states got their independence. Indeed, Zambia must continue to stand tall and proud to be the cradle of the independence of Southern Africa countries because of Comrade Kaunda's contribution to the freedom struggle. Honorable speakers, honorable members, with the powers vested in me, I will allow 3 comments on the statement, 1 minute each. Any delegation that would like to make a statement on the eulogy? Any country, any parliament that will make a statement on the eulogy? I see South Africa. I recognize South Africa.
Thank you very much, Acting President. My name is Honorable Desmond Muela from South Africa. As South Africa, we stand by the eulogy and we support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any
Honorable
other?
President?
Yes. Do I hear, is that Honorable Professor Kachavivi?
Yes, please. Just on behalf of the Namibian delegation, I wish to fully associate ourselves with that eulogy, the statement by the Honorable Speaker. We fully support the sentiments expressed by the Honorable Speaker. It is indeed to the point the life of this great son of Africa is much, much appreciated, and his contribution will live on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my brother. DRC, I recognize DRC.
I am touched by this eloge that has been made on behalf of Kenneth Kaunda. This is a symbol for Africa and for us from SADC. I would like to remind you that Kenneth Kaunda has rejected tribalism. So I salute this homage, and I recognize that it was a great personality for the region. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Malawi?
Mozambique. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Sorry, after Malawi, Mozambique, please. Sorry. Malawi and then Mozambique.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. On behalf of the Malawi delegation, I would like to support the eulogy by the Speaker of the National Assembly of Zambia on Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. Yes, he was a true son of Africa, and we really associate ourselves with him because he also had roots in Malawi, and we are proud of what he did to the nation of Zambia. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mozambique.
Muito obrigada. Thank you very much, President Modenda. The Mozambican delegation supports wholeheartedly this message and this eulogy to Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, a man whose dimension goes beyond all borders and the borders of Zambia. In Mozambique, we have a great esteem for the deceased Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, as he had an important role in our development as country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, my sister.
Zimbabwe.
I see Tanzania. Please proceed, my brother, Honorable Ndungani.
Where is it?
Tanzania.
Thank you, Mr. President. We in Tanzania, we fully support the statement made by our fellow Zambian. And as we all know that for quite some time, we've been in a very good friendship with Zambia. Started long way back when our first president, father of the nation, Julius Kambarage Nyerere, was a very close friend of Kenneth Kaunda, and they shared a lot, especially in the area of liberation struggle, as far as SADC region is concerned. So we strongly support the statement made by Zambia regarding this very strong fellow, the late Kenneth Kaunda, for his contribution towards the struggle in the all of SADC region. So we full support.
Thank you, my brother, Honorable Speaker. And finally is Zimbabwe. Finally, Zimbabwe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to add a few words. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to follow suit to what other people are saying on the eulogy of
Kenneth Kaunda, mostly known as KK. As a Zimbabwe, we really appreciate his time because as a Zimbabweans, especially the other arm of the ZIPRA forces, was housed in Zambia. We fought a war in Zambia. As we speak even today, there are bones there which are still in Zambia because of this great man. We thank him so much because we are Zimbabweans today. We are what we are just because of him. Had it not been him, otherwise it was going to be very difficult for us as a country to win our liberation struggle. With these few words, let him rest in peace. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mohadi from Zimbabwe. I think we all are saying, long live the departed spirit of our great statesman and African icon and world leader for freedom par excellence. The second order of the day, the SG shall read the second order of the day.
Motion for the adoption of the SADC model law on gender-based violence.
A motion for the adoption of the SADC model law on gender-based violence. I now call upon Honorable Mbila Mbagu to move the motion accordingly. Honorable Mbila Mbagu. Honorable Mbila Mbagu.
Je présente la motion à mon nom.
I'm presenting the motion in my own name.
Second, any seconder? Any seconder? Any seconder?
Honorable Shirley Joseph Raymond.
Yes. Honorable Raymond, are you connected?
Thank you, President. Honorable President, I beg to second the motion that this plenary assembly to adopt the SADC model law on gender-based violence laid on the table today, 11th December 2020, which has been so comprehensively moved by our able chairperson. Honorable President,
Order.
the SADC protocol on gender development
Honorable Raymond, order.
To address all forms of GBV.
Honorable Raymond.
Article 20 to 25.
Honorable Raymond.
Several measures to address
Raymond.
GBV, including legal measures, socio-economic, cultural, and political practices.
Honorable Raymond, the President is calling your attention.
Sexual harassment,
Honorable
training
Raymond.
Service providers, and adoption of integrated approaches. The SADC gender protocols urges member states to enact and enforce legislation prohibiting all forms of gender-based violence.
And the host mute the honorable member.
Host, kindly mute Honorable Raymond.
Honorable Raymond, you are simply supposed to second the motion without debating. You debate after the mover has moved the motion and debated. Thank you.
President. I second.
Thank you. I call upon Honorable Bilambangu now to present the motion. Honorable Bilambangu.
Merci. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. There's so much noise.
Can we have order, please? Tanzania, can you be muted? Proceed now. Honorable Bilangu, please proceed.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson, for giving me the floor. Mr. Chairperson, I request that this plenary assembly adopt the model law of the SADC on GBV, which had been submitted on the 10th December 2021. Mr. Chairperson, GBV has more and more drawn global attention during the past 40 or 50 years. Targeted studies have been conducted, including in the SADC region, so as to comprehend the nature, the prevalence, and the causes and consequences of GBV as it manifests itself in all the spheres of life. This we have thought of several strategies so as to undertake preventive actions. The efforts in so far as advocacies are concerned by feminists, by those who defend or in favor of equality, and we denounce the patriarchy and its obstacles to equality. This, now we must bear in mind that there are certain negative practices which go against the equality of women and children. Girls suffer from this. Mr. Chairperson, the plea in favor of gender equality has exposed the dysfunctioning, for example, in the gender, where there is no equilibrium between the crimes, the misdemeanors, and the sanctions. But there has been progress in respect of violence. Mitigation of violence is very often a bit too slow, and at times is some kind of regression. We should consider that this GBV is a major concern for all of us, especially as it is a serious impediment to development. And it is because this results of the negative attitudes by societies. And there's procedures. There's much background noise here, and we need special services for those victims of GBV. GBV is one of the major fields on which the UN focused so that there may be some kind of attention to the legal aspects of this problem. Mr. Chairperson, this plenary assembly, taking into account of the effect of the GBV in the SADC region, the regional caucus of women on SADC had decided to sponsor a motion presented during the 44th assembly of the SADC PF. The idea being that we should be able to lessen the number of cases of violence against women. The motion has been adopted by the 44th Parliamentary of the SADC, which was held in Maputo, Mozambique, in 2018. The resolution to give a mandate to the regional caucus of women parliamentarians to undertake action in the region of SADC so as to help the member states of the SADC to implement the major principles, directives, and obligations aiming at fighting against the GBV. It is along these lines that the Women's Caucus has chosen to partner with the Secretariat of the SADC, engaging in national consultations to draw up the model law on GBV, gender-based violence. This was to be a first step before implementing the resolution sponsored by the Caucus of Women's Parliamentarians. Mr. Chairperson, it behoves that we draw attention to the fact that although all the member states of the SADC have, to some extent, a legal framework with respect to GBV, but this needs to be strengthened, and in certain cases, it needs to be harmonized. It is indispensable that we have regional directives on the law about GBV so as to reinforce the legislative scenery in the member states. Mr. Chairperson, the SADC has encouraged their member states to show a increasing interest in the methods making it possible to assess the economic costs of GBV. The cost assessment may influence the decision to be taken by our politicians. This approach, this method, which bring the members of SADC to single out GBV as being a major impediment to development in the region. Besides, the cost assessment may help us to understand the advantages of prevention and mitigation. Mr. Chairperson, the drawing up of the model law on GBV should lead us to produce a technical tool which would help us to honor our commitments on this in all respects. We have in mind, namely, the HIV/AIDS, the model law of the SADC on GBV, which we're going to present today for adoption by the Assembly will lay down the minimal provisions in favor of reforms. The model laws will make it possible for us to counter the difficulties, and this model law will enlarge the application of the model laws and the major guiding principles. The service providers and the beneficiaries of the provisions and the procedures of the law. Mr. Chairperson, amongst the objectives of the model law of the SADC on GBV, we have the need to give some guidance to the provisions on GBV, having in mind the best practices in this field, which should be domesticated in the national laws, and together with, so that the national laws tend to adopt other laws which do not exist yet, and if, when they exist, are not in keeping with the international standards. We need to adopt certain provisions so that we may be able to guarantee the efficiency of national law on GBV, with the support to be brought at national level against GBV during the implementation, especially when there is still a negative atmosphere reigning. For those who analyze the national policies for the lawmakers and those law enforcers, we need to have in mind the best practices when to fight GBV. This will strengthen a regional approach, and thus would have a legal framework to define GBV, and thus will be able to produce measures and strategies, the objective of which is to eliminate GBV. We may expect that this model law gives lead to sensitization, to plea making, to the model law on GBV, in respect of GBV, is a governance instrument, the objective of which is to help the member states to draw up and adopt national laws against GBV, or to amend existing laws in respect of GBV, so as to honor their commitments at regional, continental level, insofar as the human rights are respected, and namely to eliminate GBV. Mr. Chairperson, GBV, gender-based violence, covers inter-area, domestic violence, sexual harassment on the workplace, and thus violence at all respects. When we refer to gender-based violence, we don't have to think only on the violent acts. We have in mind education to GBV has repercussions not only on the victims, but it has a negative impact on the entire society, bringing about serious social consequences. It's a problem of national and of regional scope, And this has to do with the rule of law. Since gender-based violence represents an assault against the rights of the human being, what is underlying this model law is the idea to punish those guilty, but strive to defend the rights of human beings according to the international norms and exigencies. Mr. Chairperson, I feel most honored to present on this day this model law in the presence of your august assembly. It is the fruit of a long work of a collaboration between many stakeholders with whom we have similar views, and we would like this model law be brought to the attention of all the partners, the stakeholders. And this is why the Assembly will like to learn that of late, more than 20 consultations have been organized amongst the SADC countries based on GBV with various stakeholders, the human rights commissioners, lawyers, barristers, justices, magistrates, and solicitors, the youth organizations, NGOs, and representatives of the police forces, and the competent ministries. We would like to have a joint committee for having set up on 2021 in November, so to validate each section of our project. I'm convinced, Mr. President, this model law translating the concerns of all the actors of the region, and which would help you becoming a benchmark study in respect of the human rights, especially as it is being impeded by GBV. Mr. Chairperson, I request that the motion be adopted. Thank you.
Unmute. Thank you very much, Honorable Bilambangu, for moving the motion accordingly. I shall now allow the seconder, Honorable Shali Joseph Raymond, to debate by seconding the motion.
Thank you very much, Honorable President.
Please proceed.
Honorable President, I beg to second the motion that this plenary assembly do adopt the SADC model law on gender-based violence laid on the table today, 11th December 2021, which has been so comprehensively moved by our able chairperson, Honorable Anne Maria Bilambangu. Honorable President, for recall, the SADC Protocol on Gender and Development, revised in 2016, emphasizes the need to address all forms of GBV. The protocol through Article 20
to 25 identifies several measures to address GBV, including legal measures, social, economic, cultural, and political practices, support services, measures against sexual harassment, training of service providers, and the adoption of integrated approaches. The SADC Gender Protocol argues member states to enact and enforce legislation prohibiting all forms of gender-based violence. In addition, SADC has developed the regional strategy and framework of action for addressing GBV 2018 to 2030, and the regional strategy on women, peace and security 2018 to 2022, all of which seek to harmonize and coordinate the regional response to GBV and to help member states to effectively respond to GBV. Additionally, the SADC SRHR strategy for 2030 and its corresponding scorecard includes indicators to measure progress to the SDGs targets related to SDG 5-1. Furthermore, Honorable President, SADC members signed the Declaration on Gender and Development on 8 September 1997 to promote closer regional cooperation and collective action as a means of fostering gender equality. The declaration reaffirms SADC's commitment to eliminating gender discrimination and mainstreaming gender issues in Southern Africa. Through the declaration, member states agreed to establish policy and institutional frameworks for advancing gender equality, to set up advisory systems which government and non-government organizations to monitor gender issues. These measures are intended to place gender issues at the forefront of the SADC program of action and community building initiatives, thereby leading to amendment of laws that discriminate against women, improvement of access to productive resources. Moreover, Honorable President, all SADC member states have ratified various international and regional treaties and instruments that contain important provisions committing to eliminating gender-based violence. Given the above background and echoing the words of the mover of this motion, the fact is that most SADC states currently do have legislation dealing with GBV, but this does not seem to be stemming or eradicating GBV. The plenary assembly may wish to note that the process of developing this model law include a scan of the landscape to try and determine why the situation was not improving despite the availability of legislation dealing with GBV. It was found that most nation legislation suffers from some shortcomings which negatively impact on its efficiency, on its efficacy, and this includes A, loopholes or lacunas in the legislation. The provisions lack scope or content. They are fragmented, inconsistent, they conflict in allocation of mandates, they are ambiguous or generally vague as to meaning, privilege, entitlement, or right. B, lack of adequate access to justice provisions. Access to justice provisions enable and capacitate the various players in the criminal justice and the administrative system at various stages to prevent, receive, investigate, attend, prosecute, and decide on GBV cases and enforce decisions and protect victims of GBV. And the absence of such provisions meant that victims could not access justice. C, lack adequate compliance and enforcement measures. This makes the law inefficacious and not have the impact it was intended to have. D, lack adequate provisions to ensure sufficient and sustainable resources. This results in lack of judicial, rehabilitative, administrative, and financial capacity to deal with GBV. E, lack of provisions acknowledging and addressing the nexus between statelessness and GBV on the one hand, and forced migration and GBV on the other hand. And F, lack of inclusion of asylum seekers, migrants, and other on the move, as well as stateless persons. Given this situational analysis, Honorable President, the SADC GBV model law follows the spirit and intent of the SADC Declaration on Gender and Development, which takes a human rights and non-discriminatory approach to dealing with GBV. It sets the following 6 specific targets and aims to eliminate gender-based violence at every level. Enact and enforce legislation prohibiting all forms of gender-based violence. Ensure that the law on gender-based violence provides for the comprehensive testing, treatment, and care of survivors of sexual assault. Review and reform SADC member states' criminal laws and procedures and applicable to acts to cases of sexual offense and gender-based violence. Enact and adopt legislative provisions and adopt provisions to prevent human trafficking and provide holistic service to the victims, which the aim of reintegrating them into society. Enact legislative provisions and adopt the implement policies, strategies, and programs which defines and prohibits sexual harassment in all spheres and provide deterrent sanctions for offenders of sexual harassment and adopt integrated approaches, including institutional cross-sector structures with the aim of reducing current level of gender-based violence by half. The provision in the model law of GBV are carefully crafted to achieve these targets. Honorable President, as I conclude, allow me to emphasize that the need for domestication of the principles exposed in this model law for the benefit of the people we represent. If we do not domesticate it, the lofty ideals contained in this powerful regional instrument will remain but a far-fetched dream for the ordinary SADC citizen of today. I therefore call upon each parliamentarian present here to dedicate themselves to the fight against GBV and to use the model law as their weapon. I also wish to urge SADC parliamentarians to come together across the borders to collectively march against this scourge of GBV, as together we are stronger. Honorable President, I beg to second and I thank you. Asanteni sana.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Seconder, Honorable Raymond, for your contribution. Honorable members, The 44th SADC PF Plenary Assembly session held in Maputo, Mozambique, from 26 November to 10 December 2018, mandated the RWPC to spearhead the development of the SADC model law on gender-based violence in order to eliminate all forms of gender-based violence within the SADC region. As indicated by the mover, the RWPC collaborated with various partners, including the SADC Secretariat, and in developing the GBV model law in line with the resolution. This is the document that has been tabled before this 50th Plenary Assembly for approval and adoption. For us to be systematic, I wish to guide that we will consider the model law section by section. I've invited the legal drafter, Ms. Eva Jala, to be present as we consider the model law section by section, so that when need be, the presiding officer will call on her to respond to any technical issue. And the members who wish to debate shall indicate by clicking the raise hand function on the Zoom platform. Honorable members, you are reminded that for purposes of accurate verbatim recording, you should always say out your name and country whenever given the floor to speak. And anyone given the floor to speak will have a maximum of 4 minutes. I shall now proceed to go through the modern law. Firstly, from page 1 to page 46, this is your chapter 1, which has got explanatory notes and also gives you the structure or architecture of the model law. Now, I must emphasize that if anyone has not read chapter 1, it will be very difficult to follow the rest of the modern law section by section as I shall lead. It is therefore important that we refresh our memories in terms of the explanatory notes and the structure of the model law as proposed. I now proceed to chapter 2. The first part of that chapter relates to the preamble. And the preamble goes as far as page 56, from page 46 to page 56. You have the preamble there as given. Are there any comments on the preamble? Are there any comments on the preamble? Chapter 2. I see no hand. I therefore move to page 57, which is part 1 of the modern law, and it contains the provisional preliminary provisions. There are some explanatory notes there to indicate what the provisions entail. And then I move on to page 58, domestication of the modern law. That's 1. Any comment on the domestication process? I see no hand. Number 2, application and scope. Any comments on the application of the modern law? I see no hand. I go to Article 3, conflict and review of national laws. Here, we don't have harmonized national laws that speak to gender-based violence. And the modern law is trying to harmonize that gap or lacuna. Any comments? I move on to Article 4, extraterritorial jurisdiction of national laws. This is a call to say that the laws that will enact or review as guided by this modern law will have extraterritorial effect so as to meaningfully give effect to certain obligations and commitments made by the state member parliaments under international instruments relating to gender-based violence. And in doing so, you are also reminded of the definition of gender-based violence, particularly as defined by SADC, UN Women, and UNHCR. Any comment on 4, Article 4? I don't see any hand there. Article 5, objectives. Objectives. I don't see any hand there on the objectives. Article 6, interpretation. This is a section which tries to interpret certain words and expressions that shall be used by national parliaments as they look at the review of laws that deal with gender-based violence. On page 62, any comment? Page 63. Page 64, page 65. We are still on interpretation. Page 66. Page 67, still on interpretation. Page 68. Page 69. Page 70. Page 71. I do not see any hand. I now go to part 2. Now, this part says human rights-based approach and policy direction. In other words, the modern law is looking at gender-based violence from a human rights perspective and what policy directions should emerge therefore. I go to Article 7, protection from discrimination. I don't see any hand. Article 8, access to justice. The victims, how do they access justice according to the proposal of this modern law? Well defined there. I see no hand. Page 9, sorry, Article 9, right to fair trial and settlement of complaints. I don't see any hand there. Article 10, right to fair administration. I don't see any hand there. Right to life. Article 11, Article 12, protection from gender-based violence. Any comment? Any comment? None. Article 13, protection from inhuman treatment and security of person. I do not see any hand there. Equality, privacy, dignity, and respect under Article 14. Any comment there? I don't see any. I go to Article 15, access to information by the victims. I don't see any comment there. Article 16, non-refoulement of refugees and asylum seekers. The question of returning those who seek asylum in our countries as victims of gender-based violence. That's what they're talking about there under Article 16. Any comment? Article 17, protection from harmful practices. Any comment? I don't see any hand there. Article 18, right to education and access to educational facilities. Any comment there? I don't see any hand. And it goes on up to Article 19, right to health. Any comment there? And this goes on up to page 85, leading us to Article 20, right to employment and social security. Any comment, honorable members? I go to page 86, where we have Article 21, right to nationality. Which goes on up to page 87, leading us to Article 22, right to asylum. Any comment? Article 23, protection from exploitation and right to sustainable livelihood and empowerment. Any comment there? Up to page 89. Erica Mupanga, do you want to comment? I see your name on the screen. Erica Mupanga, your name is on the screen. Do you want to comment? Page 89, rights of vulnerable women and children. Any comment? Article 25, special policies and programs for victims and women living in rural and peri-urban areas. Any comment? Article 26, general policy direction for achieving human rights. This is on page 90. Any comment? It goes on up to page 91, which leads us to part 3 of the model law, which deals with access to justice and procedural protections, which also informs us of procedural justice. Article 27, general requirements on access to justice and fair treatment. Any comments? It goes on to page 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, and there, leading us to Article 28, general provisions on victims and offenders' entitlements and access to legal services. In other words, how do victims access legal services? Quite often, some of them are poor. There are suggestions there from our model law. I go to page 98, leading to Article 29, hearings not in the open court. Basically there, the modern law is saying privacy must be maintained when dealing with gender-based violence. Any comment? None. Article 30, injunctions or other orders. From our judicial institution or quasi-judicial bodies in assisting the victims. This is on page 98, goes on to page 99. And I go to page 100, intervention orders. Any comment on that one, on that article? Article 32, the question of restitution. None. Page 101. I have Article 33, financial assistance from government. Now, that's an interesting provision, which I think we really need to support. When restitution is not fully available from an offender or other sources, the government shall endeavor to provide financial assistance. It's now mandatory according to this model law, so that there's full restitution. So the lacuna of restitution now will lie also with national governments. Any comment? Article 34. Procedures and legal services to ensure access to justice. This is on page 101 up to page 102. I don't see any hand. Article 35, rights of victims during judicial or quasi-judicial proceedings. Goes on up to page 103, right up to page 104. Any hand? I don't see any hand there. I go to Article 36, evidential rules and procedures. Where you deal with even issues like marital rape. Yes, Seychelles. You have broken the monotony of my solo voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon from Seychelles.
Good afternoon.
The Article 36, number 4, and the number 4, we are up to number 4. And then it skipped to number 8. What happened to number 5 and 6? Has it been erased, or they still stand in my copy that I have?
You don't have number?
Yeah.
You don't have number?
Article 36, number 5, 6, and 7. 5, 6, and 7 has been erased. Are they still stands, or because the copy that I have,
they are there. Yes, I think could be some faint typographical error.
Probably.
In my copy, you have sub-article 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then there is some confusion here. Oh, no, they go to Article 5. It should be 8.
Yeah.
I think it's editorial.
Yeah.
That needs to be cleaned up. Definitely. Definitely. You are right.
Because mine is on page 98. Yours is a different page.
That's correct. But in terms of the article section, yes, there's need for harmonization of the numbering there.
Okay.
Anything else? Anything else?
Okay, no problem. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for your eagle's eye. We go as far as page 107, which leads us to part 4, prohibition of all forms of gender-based violence and attendant procedures, part 4. There's a note there to the drafters of our national parliaments. I go to Division 1, General Requirements for Criminal Justice System. I see here also there is some editorial need in terms of numbering, because from Division 1, we are led to Article 37, Gender-Based Violence Sentencing Policy and the specific prohibitions relating to defenses and penalties, as Article 37, which goes on up to page 109. Any comment? Article 38, measures to protect and promote the rights of victims. Any comment on that section? I go to Article 39, intervention programs for offenders and alternative sentencing. Any comment? I go to Article 40, prohibition of gender-based violence. That's a short one. I go straight to Article 41, collusion in gender-based violence offense. I think it's straightforward. Article 42, other gender-based violence related offenses. Those are tabulated there. Right up to the next page, 112. Then we have got Division 3, processes and procedures. Article 43, factors when imposing imprisonment. What are the factors to be taken into account? The factors are there, A to M, on the next page before Article 44, which deals with no criminal or administrative liability when subjected to gender-based violence. Article 45, matters of facts. What are they? They are explained there in 2 paragraphs. Article 46, protection of victims and witnesses, very important. There are 2 paragraphs there. I don't see any hand. Article 47, child victims and witnesses. This is a very important section where the victims are children. Our national laws sometimes tend to be very weak in that direction. And this modern law seems to give us some guidance as to how we can fill up the gaps. That leads us to part 5, early and effective response mechanisms and referral systems. Division 1, general response and referral system mechanisms. You have Article 48, simplified procedures and processes for effective response and referral. I don't see any hand there. These procedures are detailed from 116 to page 117, right up to page 118. Article 49, response to gender-based violence complaints by law enforcement officers. Again, a very important section, how our law enforcement officers should enforce the law and how they should respond. Very instructive. I go to Article 50, response to gender-based violent complaints by prosecutors. Any hand there? I see no hand. Article 51, response to gender-based violence complaints by health providers. The role of health providers in the issue of gender-based violence. So I think well articulated there, goes on up to page 121, and it leads us to Article 52, developing innovative and proactive models to respond to gender-based violence. I do not see any hand there. And this leads us to Division 2, complaints, grievance, and appeals process at places of work, educational institutions, and communities. This is tackled from Article 53, 54, right up to 55. Right up to 56, which deals with conflict of interest. Any comment there? I don't see any hands. I go to article, to part 6, part 6. Now, this deals with prevention, protection, support, and intervention measures for victims. Very important section. What are the preventive measures and the interventions? These are defined in Article 57. In Article 57. Any comments? None. I go to Article 58. Basic benefits and services to victims. Any comment? Article 58, which goes on to page 130, right up to page 131, which leads us to Article 59, temporal protection orders. Yeah, what are the temporal protection orders given by our judicial institutions? These are defined in that article there. Right up to the next page. And that leads us to Article 60. Financial empowerment programs for women and children. Very important section regarding empowerment of women so that they can self-actualize and stand on their own. Article 61, educational and social measures to empower women and children again. This is a very comprehensive provision. Namibia. I see your hand there. Namibia, you are looking at Article 61. Namibia. Namibia.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker Mudenda, Advocate Mudenda. It's already unmuted. Am I audible, Honorable Speaker?
You are audible, yes.
Thank you very much. I would seek leave. My name is Muharukwa Vipakwie from Namibia. I would seek leave from the Right Honorable Speaker and perhaps the whole House to take the debate back, if it so pleases the House and the Right Honorable Speaker, to page 65, the definitions or interpretations.
Which interpretation exactly are you looking at?
I am looking at the interpretation of gender.
How does this relate to Article 61? How does this relate to Article 61 that is before us now?
Like I said, it perhaps does not relate as much other than in the context of the whole document, hence me seeking leave to revert to that.
I would suggest you hold on and come back to it once we have finished the articles. If you so please.
Much obliged, if it pleases the Speaker.
Thank you. Seychelles.
Thank you, Chair. Again, on the Article 61, it says the minister responsible for education will develop programs. What about the girls who are out of school? Who will be responsible to develop programs for them? Are there any links with the Ministry of Education, or do we have another chapter or another link for girls that are out of school? Out of school youth.
Yes, good question. The drafter, what's the name again?
Miss Eva Jala.
Yes, Eva Jala. What's your comment?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker and Chair of this meeting.
Honorable Speaker, if you look and read the section very carefully, you'll see that it's a very generalized section. So the Minister of Education is responsible for education in your jurisdictions. So it's not restricted to the child in school, but for general programs to enable every child to gain that benefit. So it's a not restrictive provision, it's a very generalized provision if you read on. It's all programs to encourage empowerment. It's not restrictive.
Yes, I don't know whether my sister from Seychelles can go to Article 61, subsection 1D, which seems to agree with what the drafter is saying here, which says target families in communities where child marriage and gender-based violence is prevalent by providing advocacy programs on the consequences of child marriage and gender-based violence. Implicitly, this girl is out of school. I think the chairman of the RWPC wants to make an observation. DRC? DRC?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Give me the floor. I think that the answer is the one you have provided, given that there are various aspects. We have the community, the village level, and this allows us to reach everybody. Everybody may access this kind of information thanks to the NGOs, those who are supposed to indulge in sensitization in respect of GBV. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we can proceed. Yes, Seychelles, your hand is still up.
Yeah, Mr. Chair. Probably I was thinking that the component is too generalized. Because we have spoken about different entities, different components, different ministries, the judiciary, health, education, whereas this one is a bit floating in the air, and there's no responsible, I should say, entities or agencies who's responsible for, especially the groups that are out of school youth. Probably we should have something inserted specifically for countries to develop targeted programs, because once it is generalized, it does not flow. It's sort of generalized, but once it is targeted, then we know that what are the different targets to invest into our programs, and what are the specific programs, and what are the specific activities that needs to be done for the particular country or for the region, so that at least once we have the monitoring and evaluation indicators, we can report efficiently, so that we can be on the same roadmap. Thank you.
Thank you. Doctor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Any apprehension about it setting provision that deals specifically?
Mr. Chair,
yes.
We can actually insert for purposes of consultation the words the minister responsible for education in consultation with other relevant ministries and institutions. And then it will support all the provisions there. Because if you look at B is support positive discrimination and broadening opportunities to education for women and girls. Education is fully covered. poor performance and those with special needs. And then we go on to the more generalized issues, targeting communities and children in marriages, which we have already passed the model law on children in marriages, and it has special provisions in there for the protection and support of such children. So if Seychelles can oblige us to add.
Yes, thank you very much. I was also looking at subsection 2 of Article 61, which says the ministry shall, in liaison with the ministry responsible for education and other relevant appropriate authorities, make learning of the nature, causes, and consequences of gender-based violence compulsory and components of the question of liaison is there, but I think what Seychelles is saying is basically the youth who are no longer within the school system.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge component that needs a standalone address legally in this provision. Eva?
Yeah, you lost me there. You lost me there. My connection had gone.
Is that Eva?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry, my connection just went off there. I'm not too sure that she wants us to target youth exclusively.
Youth outside the school system.
Yeah.
Who are victims of gender-based violence. And the youth
I know we definitely have that as we are coming on, but I'll tag it.
Yeah, you'll tag it, eh?
I'll tag it.
Thank you very much. May I now proceed to Article 62, surveillance to protect victims. Any comment on that one? It leads us to Article 63, general measures, interventions, protections, and entitlements relating to families. I do not see any hand there. 64, requirements relating to safety homes or shelters. This and safe houses, Article 64. Any comment? I don't see any hand there. Article 65, strengthening community networks. I don't see any hand there. Access to general services. I don't see any hand there. Part 7. Sorry, Article 67, funding of programs, measures, interventions, incentives, and services. I don't see any hand there. Part 7, access to data and information, capacity building, public awareness, monitoring, and evaluation. I think this is a very important aspect if we have to follow what's happening regarding gender-based violence. Article 68, evidence-based information and data. No comment. 69, Article 69, access to information and data on gender-based violence and human rights. No comment. Article 70, public awareness. Public awareness. Very critical area. People must know what is gender-based violence and how do we collaborate in that public awareness. That's what the modern law is addressing there. Article 71, information and media. I don't see any hand there. Article 72, training and public officials. Article 73, regular monitoring, evaluation, and reporting. I don't see any hand there. I go to part 8, enforcement, compliance, and regulatory measures. Now, the general state action. No hand. Article 75, notification and reporting mechanisms. I don't see. Yes, is there a hand? No. Article 76, notification and reporting mechanisms. Article 76, anti-gender-based violence fund or alternative financial resources. Seychelles, you are shaking your hand.
I'm okay. I'm fine.
You are fine. Okay. Article 77, anti-gender-based violence monitoring officers or constitution of committee, their functions and duties. The qualification is there. And 78, Article 70, compliance notices. Act 79, access to premises, documents, and information. I go to Article 80, general offenses. What are the general offenses regarding gender-based violence that are defined there? 81, regulation, rules, and guidelines. This means you have to have regulation, rules, and guidelines to beef up the law for specific issues. This goes on up to page 156, leading us to the schedule, international human rights and GBV rights agreements. They are tabled there. Which should guide us in dealing with gender-based violence. That's under Schedule 1. Schedule 2, source materials on gender-based violence. They are indicated there. There are 8 of them. And that is the last bit. Now, can I go back to, I think it was Botswana? Botswana, Oh, sorry, Seychelles, you want to say something? Seychelles?
No, probably Botswana should go first because I have a few comments to make, general comments.
All right.
Thank you.
Botswana, I'd agree with
Namibia.
that.
Honorable
Botswana?
President, it was Namibia.
Is it Namibia? Sorry. Namibia. You had a definition issue on gender.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, Advocate Brenda.
Can you give us the page? What page are you at?
Page 65. The
Page
definition of gender.
Page 65. Are you sure?
Well, on the document I have. 65 at the very top.
You have to be patient with me. I'm trying to get there. Yes, I'm with you.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker Mdenda. The definition in the model law is defined as, or gender in the model law is defined as follows: means a female or male, and may be relative to the roles, duties, and responsibilities which are culturally or socially ascribed to a particular gender. Now, my submissions have a context, and the context is our discussions in Joburg during the committee meetings leading up to the submission of this model law to the plenary.
Yes.
Let me first start by saying that one is well aware that it's a model law. One is also well aware that every country would adopt whatever provisions and in whatever form that it intends and wants to do in its respective national legislature. But however, having said that, I think the common understanding by all of us was that the model law is a guiding tool to guide us as to where the region would go, how we should espouse to define and describe certain things in our respective national legislatures. To that end, Right Honorable Speaker and members, I would have thought gender means male or female, both culturally or culturally. By the inclusion of maybe relative to the roles, that is to say, a person who might not be female, but who intends or wants or espouses to exercise the roles of a woman, is then also, I suppose, covered under female. Now, to us as a country, Namibia, it's problematic. And I believe this issue was problematic to many countries. But given the nature of and the mode of this meeting, I do not think we would be able to have a thorough and proper opportunity to have a I want to say decent debate, but to have a robust debate on the issue. Hence, I would actually go further and propose that we reinforce and emphasize within that definition the discretion of the country, perhaps to the effect that says male, a female or male, and as any specific country may see fit, be relative to the roles, duties, and responsibilities which are culturally and socially ascribed to a particular gender in that specific country. I would have thought the reason for that is Yes, first, let me just suggest that we perhaps in that definition include either at the end or in the middle there, as I explained it, or both include that specific provision that a country would have discretion, even if it's a foregone conclusion.
If you read properly the explanatory notes, you will be guided, if you recall my remarks, how the UN defines gender, how the UN Women, UNCHR, as well as SADC. And I think each respective country in applying this modern law will be guided by the regional and international interpretations of what gender violence is. And from what you say, Honorable Member, if you read very carefully the definition there, I think it covers what you are saying. If you read it carefully, it says it means a female or a male, and it may be relative to the roles, which this is the issue you raise, may be relative to the roles, duties, and responsibilities which are culturally or socially ascribed to a particular gender. If in Namibia you have that ascription, for example, so you go by it in your national law. So there's no contradiction there.
First is that we include
Seychelles.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. If I wanted to sort of go on to the same issue that was raised, in fact, it was a hot debate in South Africa. My brother in Namibia know it, but I will not go into that one. In regards to monitoring, page Article 70, monitoring 73, monitoring and evaluation, I just would like to make a comment on whether it's feasible for it to integrate what I'm going to discuss. In terms of a child, you know, the definition of a child perspective is given by different international standards. But for the purpose of monitoring and evaluation, I'm seeking the thinking of the parliamentarians for FP. When it comes to disaggregation of the data, would we have a regional age range for the child? Is it possible for us to, for the purpose of monitoring, evaluation, and reporting, would it be feasible for the document to sort of stipulate an age range of a child for the purpose of having targeted interventions for different groups of the children? Thank you.
Did you check on the interpretation section, the definition of a child? Honorable Member, did you? The definition is given there by the under the interpretation clauses. On page 63 of my document, it says a child means every human being below the age of 18 years. That appears to be the international definition of a child? You are muted. I can't hear you.
Yeah, I do understand, Mr. Chair, but for the purpose of, I would say again, monitoring and evaluation, because like a child below the age of menarche, and we have children above the age of menarche, and they are considered either youth or emancipated minors, even if they are minors. I'm just thinking in terms of having a dedicated age range for the purpose of monitoring and evaluation. Because if we say a child is below 18, right, it's fair. But at the same time, do we have the same program for the youth, for the child who's 17 plus, and the same program for the child who's 5 years old? So that is what my thinking, in line whether we have, based on our monitoring and evaluation strategy or framework for the SADC region, whether we can define the age range so that we can have different targeted programs, and at the same time for reporting purposes and for evaluation, for better strategic planning for the country or for the region. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll leave that to the mover of the motion to comment. But briefly from the chair is that the International Interparliamentary Union, for example, defines youth from the ages of 18 to 45. So you can play around that. That is the Interparliamentary Union. But I see your point. You need to segregate that portion of the youth. To what extent can you go? Is it 35 years? Others say it's 18 to 35. Interparliamentary Union says 18 to 45. The mover will comment on that. Namibia, the hand is up. Oh, sorry, Lesotho.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Acting President. I wish to bring your attention to Part 5 of the model law on the early and effective response mechanisms. Looking deeply into the early and effective responses, all the possible mechanisms, or most of the possible mechanisms, have been considered, but there's the issue of restorative justice that we feel should be incorporated in the early and effective response
Mr.
mechanisms.
President,
so I wish to pose a question or recommendation.
On a point of order,
should this be something that
the honorable member seems to be on mute.
To consider including restorative justice as another mechanism to deal with the gender-based violence as an early and effective response mechanism. I submit. Thank you.
Right, restorative justice to be included. Yes. Is Namibia still on? Yeah, we are running out of time.
Yes.
And the politics of the stomach are beginning to rule. So if you don't mind, I'm now going to call upon the mover of the motion, Honorable Mbelambangu, to respond to some observations. Honorable Mbelambangu. DRC.
this one of 73. Merci, Président, pour la parole. Ma première observation.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for the floor. My first observation, it's with regard to Article 61. When we speak about gender, we know that it's a transversal word. So the application which has been alluded to by my colleague of Seychelles, the sensibilization can also be done between the Ministry of Gender and the Ministry of Education. The Ministry of Gender can provide the program which the Ministry of Education can also apply. Like if I give the example of DRC, there are some services that were given to the Ministry of Gender, but then the two ministries should cooperate, should work together. So it's a transversal material, and two ministries can work together to define what is the gender. Given that the Ministry of Education is more targeting the kids that are in school, while the Ministry of Gender intervene to sensibilize everything which is based on GDB, because there are some services that are linked to that ministry that are taking care of territories of villages that are there, and we also have some non-profit organizations that are also there that can take our message to the most remote part of the countries. So what we're asking is that each country of SADC should take this model law and adapt it to their national laws so that it can work for them. So our aim at the caucus level, we want that the adoption of that law should be effective if in each country one disposition is not being taken care, this law can be integrated so that all of us can be in conformity with the model law that we're going maybe to adopt very soon. This is my comment, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Belambango, for your response. I now put the question that the SADC model law on gender-based violence be now adopted. Are there any objections? South Africa, your hand is up. Is that for objection?
No, Chair, it's not an objection. But I wanted to speak before Honorable Bilambangu make a comment to say.
Why was your, sorry, we have
I don't know. You haven't seen my hand was up.
No. My eyes were very clear on this.
No, not focusing on South Africa, somewhere else.
No. I was very clear. In terms of procedure, when the mover has wound up the motion, there cannot be any further debate. These are the rules of procedure.
It's not a debate, it's an addition, Chair.
No, even an addition is a debate by definition. Unfortunately, we have to be procedural.
Okay.
I feel sorry for you, but we have to be procedural.
You must feel sorry for the country, for the others.
I feel sorry, but unfortunately, we go by the rules.
No,
otherwise, I'll be a poor chairman. There are no objections. Therefore, the SADC model law, yes. What is it? Which hand? Lesotho, are you objecting?
No.
Are you objecting?
I'm not necessarily objecting, Honorable President. I was just, when you moved when you were stating for the adoption, you indicated adoption without amendments. So I'm just questioning if we were moving for adoption as is or with the amendments as presented by the members. Thank you, Honorable President.
That will be my final statement. Appreciated for your observation. I put the question and there was no objection. The SADC modern law on gender-based violence is duly adopted with the proposed minor amendments. Thank you. Honorable, Acting SJ, I stand guided. Can we break for lunch?
Yes, Honorable President, we may break for lunch if it pleases you.
And thank you very much. Let us acquiesce to Mother Nature, the politics of the stomach, and come back after 1 hour, which will be 2:20. Let's come back after 1 hour. Thank you very much, and thank you for your attention during this session. Our session is adjourned accordingly. Thank you.